Namaste. My name is JVN Rishi Gautam from Department of Journalism. Today's topic is 5 journalistic tips for conducting better interviews. When I started working as a writer and editor, I thought Q&As were easy. Step 1, find someone interesting and convince them to speak. Step 2, speak to them. Step 3, write it up simple. My first interview with the United Nations diplomat for a Swiss lifestyle magazine proved me wrong. After a recording equipment malfunction, I was so flustered I didn't push him to elaborate on any of his points. When I sat down to write it up, all I had was a bunch of platitudes. I have never included the final piece, which ended up reading like a press release in my writing portfolio. Conducting interviews gets easier with practice, though since that first disaster, I have been lucky enough to improve by interviewing people like one of Google's first employees and Elon Musk's less well known but equally accomplished brother. And now I continue to hone my skills as a contest strategist for Think with Google. But for marketers who don't have time to learn the hard way, there are a few tips for pulling off the perfect interview. Do more homework. My only true advice for anyone carrying out an interview is to embrace the Boy Scouts motto, be prepared. Freelance writer Lawrence Grovel told me over email this philosophy helped him land the famously private Marlon Brando for a set of interviews with Playboy magazine in 1978. If someone is reclusive or unresponsive, the more you show you are prepared, the better your chances of getting them to open up, he said. Being prepared doesn't mean scanning a Wikipedia page a few minutes before the interview. You can't make yourself an expert on everything, but you can try. Journalist David Murchie explained, readers have shared his Quincy Jones interview for Vulture 6 lakh times on Facebook since it was published in February. First, immerse myself in the subject. Second, I read as deeply and as widely around the subject as possible. Every lower profile subjects will have some sort of online presence, perhaps a presentation they have uploaded to YouTube or an article they have written. How do you know when you have done enough research? You get to a point in this process where you start to see information repeated. Murchie says that's good sign you have done as much research as will be fruitful. Put your subject at easy. Regardless of whether your subject is well known or not, the person answering questions is probably nervous. If you want them to open up, You have to put them at easy. Start by getting your own nerves under control. People mirror the interviewer's behavior, Murchis said. If you are nervous and uptight, there's a good chance an other person will feel less comfortable. If you are relaxed, open, upbeat, and curious, the person you are talking to will mirror that. Another way of making your subject comfortable is to share something relatable about yourself. I always try to find a common bond with the person I am interviewing. Gisha Callahan, Deputy Managing Editor for The Root, told me she recently applied the technique in an interview with Denzel Washington. Because I wanted to build a rapport with him, the first thing I mentioned was that he knew my cousin and had even given him his first break as an actor. From that point on, it was like talking to an old friend. If you are interviewing someone you already know, such as an executive, and your company assume they have little experience speaking on the record, it's always a good idea to talk them through the process forehand. When you are speaking with internal people, you can be more direct, said Ken Wheaton, published novelist and former editor-in-chief of Ad Age. Warn them that some of the questions might be tough and could make them feel uncomfortable, but remind them that it's a safe space. It's not gotcha journalism. I find doing that makes people more relaxed and less likely to answer in a way that sounds scripted. Find the right mix of questions. All great interviews have one thing in common. They reveal something new, useful, interesting, or controversial. Occasionally, the subject will offer that up on a plate, but don't bank on it. Instead, prepare some tough questions and be confident enough to ask them. When I am preparing my questions, I don't just draw on press releases and positive pieces. Witten said, I actually go out on my way to read what the critics have been saying. If that's hard for journalists, it's even more difficult for markets, given that the line between their work and PR can be thin. But you owe it to both the reader and the subject to go beyond softball questions. Readers aren't interested in something that sounds like a sales pitch, and your subjects want to come across as someone who has something compelling to say. Thank you.